All right, so yes, this is the picky eating test. Does your child eat less than 30 food? Does your child eat less than 20 foods? Does your child eat less than 10 foods? Number 4, does your child refuse to eat all types of vegetables? Number 5, does your child refuse to eat any type of meat or protein? So all the eggs, all the meat, beans, all sorts. If they do not want to eat any type, you can put a Y, a yes. Question 6, does your child refuse to eat any fruit? Question 7, only for those who are 2 years and above. Do you have to physically feed your child in order for them to eat? Question 8, will your child only eat with the distraction of a tablet, TV, toys, or books? Question 9, does your child gag, cry, throw food, or vomit when they are asked to eat a new or different food? So if your child sees a new food, some of them might gag or cry. If this is your child, you can put a yes on your paper. Question 10. Does your child cry, gag, throw food, vomit when they see a different food? So just looking at it, they would gag already. Question 11. Does it feel very stressful for you to provide your child with a variety of foods at meals throughout the day? So are mealtime stressful for you? Question 12. Does your child tend to only eat one texture of food, such as crunchy or soft only? Question 13. Does your child tend to eat only 1 to 2 colors of food, such as only white color food, only yellow color foods, or only beige color foods? Question 14. Does your child never seem to be interested in eating or appear to have no appetite at all? Question 15. Does your child require food that is different from the rest of the family that's being eaten at meals? 3 more questions. Are birthday parties and holiday meals stressful for you or your child because they are limited in the type of foods they eat? Question 17. Do one or more of your child's food have to be prepared in a specific way or only eat from a specific brand? Otherwise, they will refuse to eat them. So some children I know, they only eat KFC chicken. They wouldn't eat McDonald's chicken or Pizza Hut chicken, only KFC. Or they only eat chicken rice from that store downstairs at your area. Question 18. Does your child have a food that they used to eat every day that they now hate and will no longer eat? So this is the test, and I'll give you a minute to count the number of yes you have marked down before I show the results. And so this is the result. If you have marked down 0 to 2 points, 1 point, every yes is 1 point, then you have a typical eater. If you have 3 to 5 points, then you have a average picky eater. If you have 6 to 12 points, then you have a extreme picky eater. And if you have 13 to 18 points, you have an ultra picky eater. So at this point in time, I would like to release a poll, and I would like to know who is which type of picky eater do you have? So you can just click on your device and let me know what sort of picky eater do you have. And I see that most of us have the average picky eater. A handful of us have extreme and ultra picky eater. I feel you. I can empathize how difficult it is to feed your child if they are so picky and that hard to feed. And yes, many of my parents I work with are in that same boat as you. And I know it's hard. It's really hard. All right. So thank you for your poll. Let me continue with the presentation. Okay. Let me share the results. So the result should be on your screen now. Okay. Right. So let's continue. And I will continue with the first informative piece about why is your child picky or why is he so picky. So usually there are four main reasons why the child is picky. The first one is sensory processing differences. And this very often would be, let me close the window, it's a bit noisy. Okay, sorry about that. And yes, sensory processing differences. This would usually apply to children who have sensory processing disorder. So these are children who do not like to touch a lot of things like sand. They don't like to walk on grass bare feet. They don't like to play with sensory play that most children enjoy. They have some sensory differences internally, and many of these children are also might have autism. So over 90% of children with autism have some sort of sensory processing differences. So hence, if your child has autism, it is very likely that they are picky. It's because they process sensory information in a different way. Often, picky eaters would process them, they are very sensitive to any sort of sensory information. And so when you offer them new foods or foods that they're unfamiliar with, this new information from a sensory point of view scares them and they don't feel confident and hence they reject the food. Another reason would be unstable posture. So these might be children who do not have a weak, strong core. They're unable to sit properly, or even just having the inappropriate furniture. So let's say your high chair is not the ideal type of high chair. You might actually, that high chair might be actually causing your child to end the mealtime earlier than what they would actually be able to sustain if they are put in a more stable posture. You'll actually be amazed at how changing just that high chair or helping the adapting the high chair to make it more stable for your child changes everything. So a mommy who signed up for Little Food Explorer in August made a very slight adjustment and her toddler managed to sit through the meal the entire time for the first time. So postures is more important than we think. Poor oral motor skills, if your child is unable to chew properly, bite properly, unable to move the tongue in a way to really sweep all the food around, this might be a reason why they avoid certain textures because they realize that, hey, after eating this food, I don't feel comfortable here, or I feel very tired at my mouth area. It doesn't feel good to me. So of course, they would not eat that food the next time. And the fourth reason is a negative association with eating. So if you are a parent who is very anxious about how much your child eat, sometimes we tend to emit the energy at meal times. And children, being children, they are very sensitive to our feelings, our energy. So when they feel our anxiousness or when they feel very pressured to eat, it is stressful for them, on the inside, and that can actually lower the appetite. Stress kills appetite. Also, if you tend to be a parent who nag the child to finish their food or you punish them for not eating enough, this negative association would also worsen the pickiness in your child. So this is a very simple brief 2-minute explanation about why your child can be picky. In my full course, I actually spend 1 hour going through all these reasons so that you can have a much better understanding. Because it's only when you understand why your child is picky, then you know what sort of strategies would work for your child. So I'll jump to the strategies component of this talk. 2 key strategies I'll be sharing today would be to expose and to let go. Our role as parents of picky eaters, or even if you have a typical eating child who are a bit picky at times, it's also important for you to know this, because what we say or we do during the mealtime can actually increase the level of pickiness or decrease the level of pickiness. So it's very important that we learn how to expose our child to a variety of food, and at the same time we need to let go of that expectation of how much your child is eating at each meal. So expose, we need to increase exposure by increasing the exposure at the supermarket, by giving them more opportunities for making food play or making food art, as well as to increase the opportunities that they are able to prep meals with us, so cook with us. Exposing the food through touching, smelling, looking at the food is especially important with our children who have sensory processing differences, because it is through gradual exposure that they feel more and more comfortable with new foods. So children need to be offered a new food as many as 10 to 15 times before they might actually eat it. So you can't say that, oh, my child is very picky, he don't like tauge, just because the child does not eat tauge for the first time. So you really have to try 10, 15 times. 5 times is not enough, 8 times is not enough. You have to keep going with it and keep exposing, so that eventually, if your child, once your child feels safe, they might actually start to touch it or eat it. And actually, picky eating is very normal. Even my daughter can be quite picky towards certain food. And the most common age of picky eating is when they are between 2 to 5. That's when the taste bud change and they start to taste that the vegetables can taste bitter. They are able to taste bitterness in their mouth around 18 months to 2 years old. And that's the time when you realize, hey, they used to eat vegetables, but now they are not eating. Why is that so? It's because of that change in taste buds. And also that toddler who age 2 years old, is also the age where they are transiting from that, helpless baby to an independent toddler who wants their own way, who wants to have the say. And that is also why they can be more picky at this age. So when we have a picky eater, we have to ensure we expose the child to a lot of sensory exposure from the touch. This is my daughter. When I first introduce solids at her, she doesn't eat it right away. She will rub it with her hands. She will smash it all over the table, make a big mess before she would actually put it in her mouth. And so when it comes to addressing picky eating, the hands is very important. We have a saying that the hand is the window to the mouth. What your child is not willing to touch, they will not be willing to put it in their mouth. So hence, we need to expose them. At the supermarket, invite them to feel the different type of food. Invite them to be the one to pick it up and put it in the plastic bag for you. Talk about the food, discuss what ingredients to buy, and get them involved way before it's time to eat. This is my first tip for you. Second tip, children who have a role to play in preparing the food, in cooking the food themselves, is more likely to try the food when it's time to eat. And so meal prep is great because it exposes the child to the food in different senses, including touching, looking, and smelling the food. And so my clients, when they are cooking with me, it's not cooking a simple plate of chai sim takes us half an hour, because I break down every single step very slowly, very gradually, and I include as many opportunities for them to touch, to look, to be close to the vegetables as possible. And so by the end of that session, with a lot of playfulness and a lot of empowering words, usually every child would be willing to touch the vegetable and half will be willing to eat. And the third tip for exposing is to really have do more food art and food play with them. So have fun with the food outside of a meal time. So instead of playing with just Play-Doh, maybe you can make your own edible dough so that your child can make it and then you can bake it in the oven. So I put Olaf here. So one idea for you is you can get a rice ball shaker. I have it on sale on my website. So you can shake and create little rice balls and then you stack the rice ball together and you tell them, hey, we're making Olaf today. If this is a character that your child like. And so you can put a piece of carrot for the nose like them, use sesame seeds as eyes, and then maybe put 2 pieces of seaweed as the hands. And then at the end, you can move Olaf around on the table, jump around, and then after that, you can invite them. How about we bring Olaf into our tummy and let him have a party inside? So using some like storytelling, imaginative play like that, this style of food play can actually motivate your child to try something new. And because of, for picky eaters, food play has to be at this level of how to say, complexity. It's not as simple as giving them some colored pasta and they just play with their hands and they will eat pasta the next time. You have to, because of their strong preferences in certain type of food, picky eaters do require food play to be done in a very systematic way that intrigues them. And guess what? Different age group have different ways of playing. They require different types of play to be done. And this is because cognitively they are in a different maturity level. So in Little Food Explorers, I show you exactly how 0 to 2, 2 to 7, 7 years old and up, they all play differently. And I'll show you exactly how they play in Little Food Explorers. So this is the first part about exposing and let go. And the next part is how do we let go? So let me see. There's a few ways that you can, be respectful to your child when they eat. And I'm going to talk about that now. In an attempt for our kids to eat a variety of food, some of us resort to threats, bribes, scolding, or reward system. Some of you might have said this yourself. If you don't eat your vegetables now, you cannot have ice cream. But from a sensory point of view, we do want our child to be genuine in wanting to try the food. So the respectful way to address picky eating is no threats, no bribes, no scolding, to keep the whole meal time as positive as you can. And so I always tell the parents who work with me, the most powerful words you can say is, you don't have to eat it. These 6 words, you don't have to eat it. The moment you say that, you release all the stress from the meal time. And guess what? By telling them you don't have to eat it, sometimes you give them that permission, that space to actually want to try. Children, the more you fight with them, the more you push back. So when you release and you step back and you let go of your expectation, you actually give them room to come forward to the food, figuratively. So let me share a story about what happened just 2 days ago at Yakiniku. So last year when I did the same talk, I have a different story. And my daughter back then was at a different stage in terms of her pickiness. 3 years old and below, I would say she wasn't very picky at all. She is very adventurous in eating. But now, when it comes to 3, I do notice a little bit more pickiness behavior at meal times. So what happened at yakiniku? She said that she doesn't want to eat cucumber. And so I leave it. I say, you don't have to eat it. You just have to leave it on your plate. Hold on, huh? Hi, you want to sit with me? Okay, all right, but you have to keep very quiet. Can you keep very quiet? Okay. All right, we have a little guest here. Sorry about that. Oh, you can't see her. She's here on my lap. She doesn't want to be outside anymore. All right, the joy of parenting. So yes, cucumber story. She doesn't want to eat the cucumber. And so I didn't push it. I just say, all right, you just put it on your plate and you don't have to eat it. I just say like that, you don't have to eat it. And then I continue the meal with my husband. We just continue eating as per normal. And so she scooped the rice, she fed her with the meat, she cooked some meat for us. And all along the cucumber is there on her plate. And by the end of the meal, after feeding everything, she just pick it up and eat it. Even though at start she told me she doesn't want to eat it. And so when you actually don't harp about it, don't nag about it, the child would actually eventually give it a go. Or there's a higher chance that they will give it a go. Versus if from the very beginning I say, no, you have to eat it. Cucumber is good for you. You have to eat vegetables. There's no other vegetable at this meal. Then what happened is I would already put her in that defensive mode. And so our role as parents is to decide what food they want to eat, what food to prepare, and whether they eat it or not is the child's job. So this is a principle from this method called the division of responsibility, DOR. And so when I tell her you don't have to eat it, I also acknowledge to my daughter that yes, all of us have personal preferences. I don't like to eat chili. I don't like to eat durian, but Papa does. Me also. You also. My daughter doesn't like to eat bean sprout for now, but I like bean sprout. So when you join Little Food Explorers, I will have. What is bean sprout? Bean sprout is okay. Remember, you have to keep quiet. I'm teaching, okay? So when you join Little Food Explorers, I will have all of these scripts ready for you in a handy PDF. You just have to print it out, stick it on your fridge. And I will also go in a much deeper detail why you need to change your mindset when it comes to eating. Our energy at meal times is so important. I would say half the battle would be won if we chill and we become ourselves. The child feels powerful and safe knowing that they are in control. And when they feel safe, that's when they are more willing to try. All right. So this is the part about expose and let go. This is the 2 strategies. And I would like to bring everything together. We talked about, the 4 reasons why children are picky. And you have done a quiz together and you now know what type of picky eater is your child. And so a lot of times parents told me, the doctor say the children will outgrow it, so I don't think I'm too worried. But I need to share that, the research done is 30 to 50% of the child will outgrow their picky eating. And whether they outgrow their picky eating, I wouldn't say it's just a, automatic thing that they outgrow with. A lot of times it has to do with how we present the meal, how we interact with them during mealtime, and what we say, what we do have a very strong influence on whether they outgrow their picky eating or not. There is also a double headed arrow here. So the purpose of this arrow is to say that over here, your child might be type 3 right now, but I want to give you hope. Your child wouldn't be in type 3 forever. There is hope that they can move up the hierarchy. If your child is currently at the average picky eater, there's also a chance that they might go to type 3 or type 4 if, we are not mindful about how we feed them. So therefore, if you are currently at 1 and 2, for one, if your child is currently at type 1 and 2, I would say just do what I shared just now about exposing and letting go, and you do have a high chance that they will stay there or even improve. Remember that any negative association with eating, stress, feeling threatened can lead to more picky eating. If your child is in type 3 or 4 right now, whatever I share might be useful and successful to a certain extent. But the fact that they're in type 3 and 4, usually they are children who have a higher than normal sensory processing differences. And so just giving them the exposure to touch, to look, to cook might not be enough. For these children who are under type 3 and 4, they do need a very structured meal time, a very systematic way of playing with food. And this is exactly what my course, Little Food Explorer, aims to teach parents and educators. So before I jump to the Q&A session, I would like to make a 2-minute introduction about Little Food Explorer. So this upcoming November will be the 3rd time I am opening it for enrollment. In this online course, it is on demand. You just have to log in anytime you want and can watch all the videos, have access to the activities. There's a total of 18 lessons, including and 1-hour lecture on why won't my child eat. I share with you a very structured 11-step win-win formula, a formula for meal time. So exactly what you need to do before meal, during meal, after meal, so that your child has a higher chance of reducing the picky eating. I also share how to be a respectful parent during mealtime, how you can play with your child in a very systematic way. And like I say, different ages play differently. You need to play differently for a 2-year-old. You need to play differently for a 7-year-old. And you do play differently for a 7 to 12-year-old. So I have video lessons where I demonstrate with a variety of food how to play with your child at whatever cognitive level they are currently at. And then what is included? Bite-sized video lessons. Altogether they total up to three hours. Okay, and I also have PDF for all the lessons, and picky eating, bye-bye picky eating activities, so that you, other than just learning theory, you actually have a hands-on experience on helping your child to improve. And best of all, this is a lifetime access, so you are welcome to review the materials anytime you want. So yes, from now till November 4th, I would be having a special promotion of having it at $199. And if you sign up with a friend, you get a $50 additional $50 discount each. And one more is, for every sign up, I am happy to give you a free set of children's utensils. As I shared, it's so important to involve them in the kitchen. And when they have their own little set of utensils, sometimes just that, new novel thing increase that excitement in cooking and eating for a child. What happened? This is something shared with me with a mommy who took the course in August. And after going through my lessons, she learned a couple of tips, and she learned how to present the meal a little bit more interesting. It's not as fancy as what you Google on Pinterest when you say bento art or cute bento boxes. But she just put little strips of carrot like that and a pile of rice in the middle, and she tell her child, oh hey, we are eating a sun today. And just by that, she told me that her child ate all the carrots and even asked for more. And that's all you need to do at times. Know a little bit of technical knowledge why your child is picky. Learn some very simple strategies on how to change things at home. And then a different meal time, she put some cabbage on top, some rice below, and make it into a tree. And again, her child finished the meal, and she texted me these pictures to celebrate her small wins. And the biggest reason why this is the best time to sign up is because I am having 3 complimentary troubleshooting or Q&A calls in 2023, one for January, February, and March. And only parents who joined in Little Food Explorers will be invited to these calls. So when you sign up for the course this week and next week, you have November and December to try out the strategies to learn. And then when the new year rolls around, you can hop on a call with me and we can troubleshoot together in a Zoom dialogue along with other parents who have picky eaters just like you. I will also want to say, being the third time to run this course, I noticed that the biggest hurdles for our parents is the parental expectation of, letting go. So one of my key focus for the January call is really to talk about, our mindsets as parents, why we have certain mindsets when it comes to how much our child eats, how we can change our mindset, and I want to focus a lot on how do we be a relaxed parents at mealtime so that our child would actually feel safe enough to explore more foods. So I would, this is our end of the introduction here. And now if you have any questions, I welcome you to unmute yourself. So if you like what I shared today, I hope you will scan the QR code and find out about the course a little bit more. You can also Instagram me and any questions about the course or whether this course will be a good fit for you. I'm happy to answer your questions. So we have about 20 minutes left. I welcome you to unmute yourself to ask your questions. When you ask your questions, I would really like you to turn on your camera so I can see who I'm talking with. Feel free to ask your questions now, parents, educators. And if it's inconvenient to unmute, yes, feel free to type in the chat. Oh yes, I need to unmute yourself. Hold on. Let me see, how do I unmute everybody?
What's unmute?
All right, you should be able to unmute yourself now. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your questions. How else to sign up besides scanning the code? Okay, let me copy and paste the link. I'll paste it in the chat box in just a moment. Okay.
Mommy.
I need to type. If there's any question, you can unmute yourself and I will answer your questions live now. You can also type it on the chat. How will you know if this is suitable for a kid with medical condition? Okay, so it depends on what sort of medical condition is your child. Previously, I do have a parent who say the child has very serious eczema where there's very limited food that they can eat, and so my answer to her was, if it's a limited range of food, I'm happy to work with that because personally I don't how to say, I chooses my food very carefully and I am familiar with the different type of diets a child might need. If you can unmute yourself and elaborate a little bit on what is that what's that called, what's the medical condition, I can address that. Shuhui says the child doesn't like to eat. Let me see, hold on. Let's see. Okay, yes. She will say, my child doesn't like to eat meat and fish and throws it away, but eats it when it's blended. After you use the steps to cooking, you do, but still doesn't like to eat it. What would you suggest? Okay.
Who is all that?
Hold on, Alexis. So sometimes, if you have tried different ways and they still doesn't like to eat it, it might be you are jumping up the steps too fast. So when it comes to the steps to eating in Little Food Explorer, you move up a level only after they have, they have mastered each level of how to say they are comfortable, they're very comfortable with each step before you move up. So if you move up too fast, sometimes this is what happens. They do not feel safe enough to actually go to the last step of eating. Would you like to share a bit more so that I can troubleshoot with you right now? Your child spits out the food as well. Sometimes they spit out the food, maybe they do not like the texture, or she doesn't feel safe with manipulating it in her mouth. So that might be a reason. It might be a texture. So can you find out other reasons? No, can you find other textures that are similar to fish, and will she be able to eat them? If she does not like soft textures in general, fish can be very soft and meshy, then that might be a reason. It's a sensory processing difference that is stopping her from trying the food. Let me see. Let me paste the link in the chat first to address Zhiling's question. So I've pasted a direct link on the chat where you can click in to learn more about Little Food Explorers. Sharifa said 15-month-old son used to eat, although picky, but now will only eat a few spoonfuls before spitting it out. It has been nearly a month now. Yes. So when it comes to a child who is regressing, I would like to first invite you to think about, what are the vibes you are giving out when feeding him. You might not say it, but sometimes children, when they feel that, mommy is like hovering around mommy, keep asking me to eat, that alone would places a level of internal stress to them, and that stops them from eating. So the very first step I would like to recommend you is to really relax. And if you find you cannot relax around, you might want to get another caregiver to handle mealtime, so that your child remains positive during have that sense of positiveness during feeding time. Another way I would like to suggest is, does he eat differently at different places? Do you feel he has a better appetite when you have a picnic or when you eat at other people's houses? So if they do, then it is also a positive sign to show that this might be a home-related issue, that you might need to figure out what is it at home that is causing this picky eating behavior. Myra asked, what are your thoughts on BLW and spoon feeding? In-laws are forcing you to spoon feed, force feed, and that creates a negative experience. Yeah. Okay, then please put it lower first. So yes, personally, I like BLW. I feel for most kids who do not have any oral motor issues or medical conditions that does not allow them to eat food in chunks, I think BLW is a very good way to prevent picky eating, because spoon feeding has a lot of, if you don't do it right, you are right, Myra, that it can become like force feeding, because some parents just put the spoon straight into the mouth and force it in. There's actually a more respectful way to spoon feed. But yeah, a lot of times because we want things fast, we want we want them to eat as much as they can while they're with us. We tend to go down that slippery slope of force feeding. So I do recommend BLW whenever possible, just because I feel it is a way for them to have that sensory exposure to the food, and it gives the child a lot of autonomy on whether your child to eat the food or not. If you have to spoon feed, I do recommend by the time your child is 12-month old, they do have some sort of motor skills. I would encourage you to hand over the spoon to them so that they can be the one feeding themselves. So you load the spoon and they feed themselves. That is slightly more respectful, and you give the child more autonomy in feeding themselves. So yes, please explain to your in-laws force feeding creates a negative experience, and that might increase the chance of picky eating. Jiling say, is it common for 18-month-old to enjoy crunchy but does not like mushy like oats and porridge? Rice is okay. So I would say that a typical eater would like all sorts of textures. There might be certain periods of their life that they do not like certain textures, but after a while, they would actually pick it up. So it shouldn't be they don't like it and it's forever off the chart. If an 18-month-old, you realize your 18-month-old doesn't like oats or porridge anymore, my first question would be, have you been feeding your child too much porridge and too much oats? I know some kids who eat porridge every day for lunch because that's what is easiest to cook. And if that's the case, I would recommend you to switch things up. Sometimes they are not eating regular food, food that they usually eat because they are sick of it already. Otherwise, it might be a texture thing. They do not like the mushy textures. Then my question is, do they play with mushy things? And in Little Food Explorers, I will give you ideas on how to introduce unpreferred textures so that your child would eventually play with it and eat it. Emily, I think it's Emily. Emily shares your child is eat everything in the kindergarten and daycare, but eat only selective food at home. Yes, this is very common. And it's because in daycare, there are other children and there's this positive peer influence at works, and they know, and usually in childcare, childcare and kindergarten is very structured. They know after eating, this will happen next, or they know that if I don't eat the food, how to say, sometimes they might be scared of the teacher and that's why they eat it, but I personally don't think it's a very positive way for the child to eat. If you feel your child is very selective at home, then you need to put a more structured mealtime routine in place. And the lesson about the 11-step win-win formula would be most applicable to you if this is what's happening to your child. Suhaida. Hi, Suhaida. I think Suhaida is my friend from ex workplace. Is there such a thing as being too late to expose your child? He's now 1 year plus. But you plan to start exposing him in 2 months so they can do a proper meal as a family. You can't do it now. I don't think there's anything as too late, Our children, especially young brains, they are very malleable. So I won't say it's too late. If you can't expose now, then focus your efforts on making mealtime positive. Talk about the food, talk about how yummy the food is, talk about how colorful the food is or how crunchy it tastes in your mouth. Just remove as much stress as possible during the mealtime, and don't stress yourself thinking that, oh no, I can't do food play with him for another 2 months. I don't think you would create a picky eater just by exposing him a little later. Oh, we're almost done. All right, let me take 2 more questions. Yvonne's question and both Yvonne. Okay. Alexis, I need to talk. Can you keep quiet or you go with Papa for a while? Okay, then you can keep quiet for a while. Okay, first question. Do kids like a certain food these days and might not like them anymore? Then come back to them again. Yes, it's very common that there are days that they like it and there are days that do not like it. And I think young kids, they are still trying to figure themselves out, So it's just like one day I like this shirt, the next day I don't like that shirt. Very normal.
Mommy,
Don't stress about it.
Strong.
Are there periods in their toddlerhood that they eat more and then suddenly eat less? Yes. I have meals where my daughter just eat 3 bites and then she says she's done. And then for dinner, she'll just eat more to make up for it. So I do encourage parents to not stress over how much your child is eating from a meal to meal basis. More like monitor them as a week on week. If they have prolonged periods where they are eating very little, then start to get worried. Otherwise, if it's one meal a lot, one meal very little, don't stress about it. Trust our kids' body. Sometimes, for whatever reasons, they might be having some developmental spurt that causes a lower appetite. It's totally okay. Okay, before I hop on to the last question, I do want to share one last bonus for everyone for being here today. Okay, so here, this is, yes, I would like to thank everyone for their time here today. I still have 2 more questions to answer. I'll get to them after I share this slide. I would like to offer everybody here today a special promo code. If you want to buy some kid-size utensils to encourage cooking fun at home. Currently, you get free shipping only when you buy 3 sets, but for everyone here, I like to say, if you use the promo code Let's Cook, you can get free shipping when you just buy any 2 sets. Okay, all right, last 2 questions. Yvonne's question, your 11-month-old uses her hand to eat food, but for rice and porridge, she tends to throw the spoon. How do you prevent it from happening? She used to preload spoons in her mouth until recently. So I would encourage you to look up this schema, this play schema called projectile throwing. 11-month-old is when the time where a lot of children like to throw food because they enjoy this cause effect of throwing. So I would encourage you to offer more throwing opportunities outside of meal time. So she finished her need to throw before rice and porridge is served. If she keeps throwing, and then you have to set limits. So it's back to parenting, setting firm limit. If you throw the spoon again, I cannot let you feed yourself. Or if you throw the spoon again, I'm going to take the food away. Meal time is finished. It will just be a phase. Don't stress it. I know it's very annoying because you spend so much time preparing the food. So yeah, just know that it is a very common behavior. And what you can do is to really set firm boundaries and know that this is a internal desire that this 11-month-old body wants to experience throwing. Okay, so we are right on time at 11. And I would like to thank everyone for being here today. If you would like to ask any questions about the course, feel free to Instagram me. And otherwise, I would like to say bye-bye to everybody. I might make this recording available for a limited time so that you might share this with your parents, your partners, your caregivers, your helpers. So do check your email later this evening for any announcements. Thank you so much. Alexis, want to say bye-bye? Bye-bye, everybody. Enjoy your Saturday. Have a peaceful meal time and know that meal time can be very fun and joyful if you let go of the expectation. I know it's hard. See you. Bye-bye. I'll end the meeting now. It's okay, Sue. I'll see you another time, face to face. So happy to see familiar faces and new names here. Okay, all right.